Hey guys, welcome to a recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, episode 2, Sisters Before Misters. And guys, this episode, initially when it started, I was like, what direction are we going to? Like, what's going on? And we're still at Ross' 40th birthday bash, and the girls are fighting. The girls are fighting. So, Sheree, she says to Kenya, let's bring over Martel to figure out what's going on in these DMs that you claim of. And you can already see that Sheree, she was not really hearing it or wanting to receive what Kenya had to say to be true. Because, Kenya and Sheree, they hang out. Why is it now that Kenya wants to bring this information towards in front of Sheree's intention? What's the intention of this? And we can see from Kenya's side of it is that she just wants, her girl to have all the information given Martel's history and, him being known as a cheater, pumpkin eater. So what we learned is that these text messages, not these text messages, these DMs happened 6 months ago. And this was before Sheree was actually with Martel, before they were out and about all over Atlanta. So Martel, he comes over, and what we hear is that, every time he comes to Atlanta, he's only with Sheree. So what's the discussion about? What's this all about? And, I'm like looking at Martel, say, wow, this is a lot of commotion over something so small. Just say yes or no whether or not you were in her DMs. So, they go at it, and Martel says that, he is only with Sheree, and that was it. But I felt like we didn't get to hear, okay, finish the last part. What about the DMs? Nothing was brought up about the DMs. And then we get a switch where we see Sanya. She goes over to Candy because Candy activated y'all. Where we last left off in the previous episode was that she was getting to it with Courtney, and I'm as I said before, I don't think I'm gonna be a fan of Courtney because the energy she's giving is too much raw up in the jump for what? Like, you're new, calm down, level down, chill out. So Kenya, she comes over, all the girls come over to see what's going on with Candy, what's the commotion going on with Candy. Sanya, as the host, she has to check in on Candy. And she lets Candy know that, she had a talk with Courtney and Sheree over at her house. So she kind of knew that there was some issues, but she didn't let Candy know this piece of information. And Candy was looking at Sanya sideways. I was looking at Sanya sideways. Like, girl, you on the wrong side. Why do you choose to be on Sheree and this new girl's side? Like, come on. So Sheree, she comes over with Courtney, and most of the ladies, they want to change the vibe. They don't want to get back to fighting again. Honestly, I kind of want them to move on because I'm not really interested with Courtney knowing or not knowing Candy, or Candy not knowing or knowing Courtney, okay? Is this how they want to start the season? Like, I'm not amused. I'm not interested. Let's move on to a different storyline. This is so fake. Don't play in our faces. We don't want this, and I'm so happy the girls kind of didn't want to feed into this. So anyways, we get Martel back into the scene, and he's being super defensive whether or not he DM'd Kenya Summer Moore. And that's pretty much the discussion, and they go back and forth. She opens up her no, he opens up his DM to show when was the last time he communicated with her, and we learned that he sent her a message back in 2020. This is during COVID time. So everyone, of course, was home alone and they wanted to talk to somebody. So interesting enough, he communicated and reached out to Miss Kenya Moore during 2020. And he doesn't accept, oh, what happened 6 months ago, but it came into a whole situation where he was saying, oh, you get a lot of DMs, don't you? And you probably read it all. And it was just getting too catty. I'm like, what is this energy going on right now? And our girl, Kenya Moore, she doesn't take it. She stands up for herself, and she gets at not Martel's face, but pretty much looks his face to let him know that you can't talk to a queen like this. This is not how you speak to a queen. And he reads her, she reads him. And I'm like, listen, Miss Kenya Summermore is many things, but a liar, she is not. She's not one of those. So, of course, we saw the DMs. I'm taking Kenya's side in this. And Candy, she saw it too. She's like, no, this is all factual. This is all true. So she takes Kenya's side too as well. So we see right through Mr. Martell. Candy sees right through Mr. Martell. So we all on game. So what's it gonna be? Like, he should honestly just fess up. I don't know why he was making it more of a big deal. I feel like it makes me wonder what did the message say? What did you send to Miss Kenya Moore? So Kenya, she reads Martell his right, and she wants, Sheree to really see this and know that, you're picking up the same type of person. Like, this is a message Sheree typically deals with these kind of men that she wants to bring around. And, Kenya, she relates because she has a past where she have dated men of this kind that was aggressive. And Sheree, she doesn't want to deal with this. She leaves her man. She stands by her man, and I, we're in for another season with Sheree and her choice in men. I'm over it. We know it's fake. We know it's fake. So now we're over at Drew's, but we get to see Ralph first. Ralph is really holding down the season for Ms. Drew, honestly. Girl, he's the new housewife. But we finally get to see Drew, and she's actually coming back from Chicago. Ralph and the kids, they set up a surprise for mom, which I thought was so sweet. Given that we know where they at right now, the build up and everything before that is so interesting to watch as a viewer. Really, really, really interesting. So what we learned is that Drew, she came back from Chicago from taking care of her father who's in a nursing home. He is suffering through Alzheimer's disease. And what was interesting and sad was that she said when she left him at the nursing home, he was walking, but now he's in a wheelchair. So I felt for Drew, and she went over to Chicago to be with her family, be by their side. Ah, could Ralph had left to go support his wife in that? He could have, but they have kids. That would have been a whole situation. So I think it was appropriate for him to hold down the fort, stay home with the kids. But he was at the party, so it's hard. It's easy to be critical, but I can see both sides of them. So she shares a story how her father doesn't really recognize her, but interesting enough, when she started singing, he recognized Drew, and that kind of bring forth her or reminded her of her first love, and that is music. Yes, she's a successful actress, but her true passion is singing and music. So that kind of inspired her to get back into music, and she is, she wants to focus on music, and she has the support of Ralph. We learned that, Drew, she dropped a new song, a single called Already Know, and it was produced and written by her man, her husband. So I thought that was quite interesting because, I always thought of Drew Sidora as a singer because I remember her from the game and she was singing on the game. So yeah, she's really good at singing. So it's nice to see that, she's, being pushed to this calling that she has because it's inspired by her father. And, she did say that, since she's been focusing on music, it has helped her marriage significantly. And I'm like, hindsight is 2020. We are all seeing this in hindsight, and I feel like this was the last ditch effort to help save their marriage. And I wonder, I'm so curious what direction is going to go this season for her and her husband. So, they talk about while she was away, she heard that there was a fight, a little commotion at Ross' birthday bash. And she learns, the fight with Candy was with Ralph's cousin, his newfound cousin Courtney. And she is like not surprised because she says like the Pittmans do not play. So she is not surprised by hearing this at all. And she was actually super gagged that, Courtney, her new, what do you call that? Her new cousin in law, I guess cousin in law, is in a fight with Candy with one of the housewives. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, what role she, becomes closer with the new housewife, or she's gonna have Candy's back. But y'all, that is wild, 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 wild. So we now get a scene with Miss Sanya and Candy, and I already know how this is about to go down. Candy, she does not let people slide like that, y'all. She does not let people slide, and I appreciate that from her because she keeps it real. So they have a sit down, it's at lunch, and when it's lunchtime, Candy's gonna order some food, and I love to see it because she really orders some really good food. So Candy and Sonia, they hang out outside of filming. They say how they went to Disney, they do this, they do that together, and it was a good moment for them to get to know each other, and not only themselves, but also kind of blend their family to get for their family to get to know each other. So they have Sonia has young kids. No, she has a young son who got along with Blaze and Candy's young son. So when I learned that, it kind of made me look at Sonia sideways. I'm like, Sonia, that was even worse for you to be over at Sheree and Courtney talking about the whole situation about Candy, especially if you're, developing a friendship with Candy. You have to, I don't know, like, it doesn't look good. It looks fake. So Candy, she shares how busy she's been, and she was kind of hoping that this time would have been a little bit more relaxing. But of course, it's not. And suddenly she brings up, oh, BravoCon is coming up. She's attending, and Candy is attending, which I thought was interesting that they brought up on the show because we're gonna actually see BravoCon kind of break the fourth wall into the Housewives realm, the franchise. We never really got to see the BravoCon through a franchise experiencing BravoCon. So that's going to be amazing. And we do get to see some sneak peek previews at the end of the episode of them participating in BravoCon. So it's going to be interesting to see their perspective of how everything went down. So then in the scene at the lunch, Sanya, she opens up her struggles and her family wanting to move away, and she kind of feels like it's too soon, and she kind of likes how the family's all together, even though her husband wants his space back. So with Sanya, we see the challenges, but honestly, you should give people their space. You can't control people. I feel like Sanya is such a control freak, but given that she's such a control freak, I do not get how she cannot see how she's doing it, what she's doing with Candy and Sheree and Courtney is sideways. It's wrong. No, 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 no. You can't be a control freak and not understand how you moving like that is wrong. So, now Candy, she opens up back saying how, Todd wants support from from her, right? His partner in his creative ideas, like to accomplish some of the goals that he has. And she says that she understands where Todd is coming from, but she is only trying, and that's what she can do is try. Try, 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 try. Now, they talk about the party. So now I was more interested for them to talk about the party. I couldn't wait for them to talk about the party. So they talk about the party, and Sonia, she shares what happened prior to the fiasco. And I'm like, yes, we're gonna see some footage. We're gonna see some footage. So Sonia shares how she was over at Miss Sheree's castle, Miss Sheree, Miss She by Sheree's castle, and Courtney stopped by, and pretty much apparently there was a event that Courtney was at, and Candy came too, and then she shared the location and she posted it, and then a week later at that same venue, a whole bunch of ghetto people showed up to the scene. And Courtney, she says that, oh, that's because of Candy. Candy, she brings ghetto people around her. So Candy took it as, oh, she's calling me ghetto. She's calling me ghetto. And I can understand Candy's logic where she jumped into that because let's say you show up to a place and you bring like a certain entourage, that entourage kind of speaks to who you are or who likes to be around you or who consumes your content. So Courtney is alluding that Candy is ghetto because she just attracts ghetto audience. Now, Miss Candy Yams asked the question that I wanted to know. Okay, she asked Miss Senya, "What did you say when she called me ghetto? What did you say?" What did you say? I feel like this is like a reference from the Bible, like like when, oh, would you deny Jesus in front of the people or something like that, something like this. I feel like this is so biblical. I feel like this is like one of those moral teachings. Like, what did you say in front of a person who was calling out your friend? Like, what did you say? And Sanya, she took a pause. Sanya took a pause because we know what's coming. The cameras were there. They captured it all. So Sanya, she sips her drink. She sips her drink. She sips her drink, and Candy, she's eating her food. Candy, she loves the food. She doesn't play us. She's eating her food. What did she say? What did she say? So Kenya, she sips her drink, and she's like, "Oh, Candy's my friend, and you need to have a conversation with Candy." So Candy took that information. She was like, "Oh, that means you didn't really take up for me," because she didn't say, "Oh, I took up for you verbatim." She didn't say that outright. She just said that, "Oh, Candy's my friend. Have a conversation with her." So we get to see the footage, and the footage, they roll the footage. Roll the footage. And it shows Sanya kikiing, like laughing. And I'm like, the lies, Sanya, the lies, the lies, the lies, the lies. But Sanya, she kind of defends herself. She's like, I don't think she called you ghetto, but let's be real. She called Candy ghetto. She called Candy ghetto. And Sanya was like laughing. It's like pretty much laughing. Not you calling Candy ghetto. Like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Like, ugh, that does not look good. And I can't wait to see what Miss Sanya has to say about that. Like, what do you got to say about this? So we get a quick scene, and Sanya's home. She's FaceTiming her husband who's away working. And we learned that she's open to having baby number two. But the issue is now is that her husband is too busy at work to make baby number two. So that was a cute little information we learned. So we can close that storyline saying, oh, does Sanya want to have kids, more kids or not? She does, and she wants to. Now it's on Ross. So we're now over at Candy's and Todd's restaurant, Blaze. And they talk about pretty much business. This is like a business meeting. This is a date/business meeting. And they talk about how this restaurant in particular is not performing at a standard compared to the others. So are talking about making some improvements. They want to look over the menu. They want to look up the vibe. They want to kind of enhance this restaurant to be at the standard of the others because Todd apparently he wants to open up another restaurant business, and it is Mexican food. And Kenny kind of looked at him like, "Oh, you're just opening a restaurant after restaurant?" And he's like, "Yeah, because it makes him money, so he got to do what makes him money." But Candy kind of reminds him, and it's also a nod to what's going on to her relationship. She reminds Todd that, you have creatives that you want to accomplish, and we cannot forget that because she's helping him with that and she's being supportive. So for him to undertake another restaurant, that's going to be more time that's pulled away from Todd accomplishing his creatives, his dreams, and to other things where he was complaining about not being able to accomplish his goals and dreams. So Todd says, yeah, we can do that and we'll do this. So you can see that they're still working on their issues when it comes to that. So they focus back on business, and we actually have Candy's cousin Melvin who comes into the scene, and they're going over the menu. Candy's cousin Melvin, he's the cook, so he's there to like go over the menu pretty much to see and do the tasting and whatnot. And it was all going well, and I was like, okay, with the scene until the producer showed up to the scene and said, oh, to Todd and Candy and Melvin that if they want to address the elephant in the room. So we know what's the elephant in the room because we see social media. We know what's going on at the Blaze restaurant. We know the drama, but Candy and Todd, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want bad press. They want to focus on the good stuff about Blaze. And I don't blame them because the food, it looked good to me. Like they brought out the food and they put it on the table. It looked good. I don't know if it tastes good, but it looked good. So the producer called them out and said, "You got to keep it real. Let's talk about the elephant in the room." And Todd, he says, "Well, we can't because it's legal." But then we get a confessional where Candy, she opens up and tells us about the situation, how a customer came to the restaurant and there was a whole dispute, and that person shot her cousin. And all the other castmates, they were talking about, you don't know if you come to Candy's restaurants and you if you're getting biscuits or bullets. And I was like, dang, they're really taking shots at Candy. And you know, Candy's not gonna let that slide like that. So we know we're gonna hear about it again. So, you know, all the castmates, you know, are saying that overall, this is also an Atlanta issue. It's not singularly focused on just Candy's restaurant being a scene where crime happens, but overall, what we learn is that in Atlanta, crime is elevating, is escalating, and this is becoming an occurrence. And hopefully, you know, they get it together. You know, no one wants that for a business. I know Candy doesn't want that to be the focus when people think to come to her establishment. So I appreciate the producers holding these castmates accountable because you hear Candy getting money, you hear her successes, but you know, we don't always get the full picture of what goes on into these things because it's not always going to be a win. There's going to be some hiccups along the way. And I like for it to be real, I like for it to be reality. So let's keep it 100. Keep it 100, okay? So we then move on to a cute scene with Miss Kenya Summermore and Brooklyn. And we are meeting this new housewife, Akila. She's a wag. She's married to a football player. And she brings along her daughter, and her and Kenya play tennis together. They're not too good at it, but I like the scene of it all. I like they're trying to give us an ambience of them talking, getting to know each other while giving us some visuals. So I get it. I get it. I get it. So Kenya, she gets into a small talk with Akila, and she tells to Akila that, you know, she's getting a divorce, but she's seeing she's getting divorced. She's still divorcing Mark, but she's seeing someone new, and she shares that with Akila. You know, Kenya, she really likes Akila's marriage. She hopes and to aspire for something like that. So I can't wait to get to know a little bit more about Akila. But this was not the scene. This was not the episode for Akila, so we will be getting to know her more in the future. But back to Miss Kenya Summermore. So with Miss Kenya Summermore, she's now seeing Mr. KMC. Call, no, not Call. He's the CEO and founder of Kale Me Crazy. And apparently, she is crazy. She is smitten by him. The way she talks about him, the girl, she sounds like she's in love. She sounds like she's in love. And I'm rooting for Miss Kenya Summermore, as always, because I'm rooting for her happiness. I want her to be happy. I want her to be happy. So we then get a dinner sit down with Sheree and Sanya. I'm like, Sanya can't be my friend. Sanya cannot be my friend. I wonder what she's gonna say in that conversation. Sanya, oh no. So Sheree lets us know that she's a grandma. She has a new baby, Mecca, from her son Cairo. Looks super, super cute. And Sheree, she goes in and she talks about the party and what happened with Kenya and Martell. So this was actually not gonna be about Candy. This is now a focus on Kenya. And I completely forgot that Miss Sanya had a little beef with Kenya Moore. So, you know, Sheree, she doesn't like how Kenya, she's putting down black men and calling them aggressive, calling them abusive, calling them, you know, all these terms in a negative light towards them. And, you know, Sanya, she actually listens and she actually resonated with what Shuri had to say because remember, Kenya at one point called Sanya's husband aggressive at this dinner party where there was the issue about the itinerary. And so I completely forgot about that, but uh, this is gonna be a storyline. This this So I thought that was settled and they move forward, but it doesn't seem as though. So I think we may have a conversation again about Miss Kenya and how she calls these label these men and how the other women receive it. Ooh wee. Oh wee, oh wee, oh wee. I don't know. This episode not doing it for me. It's not doing it for me. So we get a jump scene to Kenya and she's explaining to Akila how, Martel slid into her DM and the whole situation with Sheree and Martel. And then we get a flashback over to Sheree, and she's saying how she's not liking Kenya for that situation. And that, they both in their conversations see that they're going to have a talk. And I'm nervous for this talk because I like Kenya, I like Sheree, I like how shady they are. I just wish that, the focus was on something else. But, Sheree makes it a little bit easy because Martel is not a great guy. He's not a real guy. Like, he's not real. So, if we see right through that, the other women are going to see that as an easy, easy talking point to have in this show. So, I am scared for this talk because both of them are the shade assassins. So, the reads are going to be good. And, the thing is, both these women, they can relate with the scenario because they have both been in crazy situations in their dating life. Like we get a flashback with Kenya dating Mark, no, Matt, the Matt. I forgot about Matt. We don't need to remember Matt. We can let that person go. Okay, no. And we get a flashback of Sheree and her ex-husband, how abusive he was. So it's like, ah, I don't want this. I don't want this as a storyline. No, no. Oh my gosh. But I feel like they have to because what else they're gonna talk about? Because what other storylines are we getting? Okay. We don't even get the storyline with Ralph and Drew up until the filming was over that they had to bring back the cameras back again. Speaking of Drew and Ralph, we now get Drew and Ralph, and they're headed over to the studio. And what they're doing is that they want to prepare to drop an EP. So the EP and the song is going to be inspired by her marriage, her ups and downs, her tribulations, and whatnot. And I felt like, this is something that she says has been helping her relationship. But I do feel like this was the last ditch effort that they were doing. So Ralph is really, really involved in this, guys. Ralph, he plays the piano. You know, sh- uh, Drew, she sings. So they're like a duo. So I don't know. I've seen so many situations where we have the husband also manages and help assist with the talent's career. Not saying that Ralph is not talented, but I do feel like, this is also his opportunity to shine. I don't know how often he gets to play piano or when he has the opportunity to do that professionally, but it seems like they're a good duo. I was I was really rooting for them in this scene because you see how they work together. They kind of float off each other. So I just wonder what was the last straw for them to end up filing for divorce. But they sound good. They sound really good, y'all. She sang acoustics. He played on the piano just like that, and I was like, wow, they're really really good. Ugh, I'm rooting for them. No one wants a divorce. I'm rooting for them. So we now get a scene, and we are at She by Sheree Distribution Center. It has a whole center. It has a whole center. I can't believe it. That was a whole moment. We're learning something new. But guys, why the clothes? Why the clothes gotta be wrinkled? Why the clothes gotta be wrinkled? And the staff there, they're saying, oh, we can, steam it out, but it's an extra budget. It's an extra budget. It's not for free. And I'm like, good thing you have it on camera that it costs money to steam those outfits because Sheree will think that, no, I didn't agree for this to be done. So they have it on camera that this is an extra charge, extra service if you want the clothes to be steamed before singing it out. I thought that was so funny. So we get Miss Kenya. She steps in by for a visit to see the distribution center, to see that it's real. And Kenya, she talked about this commercial that she filmed out in LA with, Kyle Richards, Teresa Giudice, and with this Dallas Cowboy player, football player. I call him a cowboy player. Sports is not my thing, obviously. So Kenya, she's just attracted to people. She's feeling herself. She's dating. I like this side. It's so refreshing to see Kenya not be so sad. So this is great and amazing. And this of course switches over to Montel. Montel. And Sheree, she brings up again the whole situation of him sliding into her DMs. And, Kenya Moore, she stand by with what she says. She said it's not okay for him to curse me out the way he did, to talk to me that way in an aggressive and abusive behavior. And Sheree, she kind of puts blame on Kenya. She's like, well, he's defending himself. And do you think it was appropriate for you to come into his face and talk the way you did to him? And, Kenya, she says he can defend himself, that's for sure. But the way he talked to her was the issue. And they're fighting, but they're also laughing. So I'm like, guys, we know this is a joke. We know this is just a storyline. Like, just be friends. Don't make it a thing. But you see, it's gonna be a thing, y'all. It's really gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing where Kenya will have to defend herself and say that she's not, talking down on black men. That and all. I can already see it. I can already see it, and it don't look good. So what bothered Kenya about Martel, I don't want to forget his name, is that him saying that, oh, Kenya, she must get a lot of DMs and she probably answers them all, pretty much putting down Kenya, which I could see that because he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to say that. All he had to say is whether or not he slid into her DM or not. If he did, fine, that's okay. That's not a crime. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. Because apparently Sheree wants to spin it off as, oh, she's just dating Montel. She's not in a serious relationship. It's not official. So this is like Sheree protecting her heart in a way. Okay. So I understood where Kenya was coming from because he didn't have to do all that. He was doing too much. And Kenya use of the word abusive definitely does not sit well with Sheree, and she expressed that in her confessional. So, guys, obviously, this is not the end of it, but I hope this is not the complete entirety of this whole season. I'm over it. Like, I'm done about Montrell, whatever his name is. Let's leave him over there in Huntsville. Let's leave him over there in Huntsville, and let's our girls get back to having fun. So, we did see a quick little preview of the following episode. I'm still interested. What I would rate this episode, honestly, I give it a 7.8. I think it's going back. It's unnecessary storylines. The only thing I can appreciate is how Drew and Ralph are being real in their filming. That is good. Candy, mm, she's on thin ice with me. Candy, she's on thin ice with me because producers had to call her out. And I'm like, good job, producers. Y'all doing your job because y'all don't want to produce something and it falls on you because we are so critical towards you guys. So I did like that. Who else was there? Sheree, Kenya. I miss Portia. I miss Portia. I miss me. Kim Zolciak, come back on the show. We could use you too. I'm so curious, guys. What did you guys think of this episode? I didn't think this episode did what it was supposed to do. It did have some fun and cute moments, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do. So let's keep hope that the next. Oh, Marlo was not an didn't add much to this episode. Marlo, this may be your last season because Marlo, you didn't give too much here. I was excited. I was so happy that we got to see Kempire. Kempire, he had a feature. He featured on this episode, so I give this episode an 8 because that was amazing to see him and his thoughts, being shown on the episode. So congratulations to Kempire. That was amazing. And it was also amazing to see that there's a real distribution center by She by Sheree. So you are getting your orders. Just wait. Just wait because the budget got to be passed for it to be steamed. If you want it steamed and nice and crispy, you got to wait a little bit. So I did enjoy this episode. I gave it an 8 because of Campfire. But aside from that, girls, you got to step it up. I feel like after The Real Housewives of Miami, all these other franchises have not been doing it. They have not been doing it, and I miss that. Atlanta is an iconic franchise, and I need them to step their game up. So I am looking forward to their next episode, and you guys stay tuned. So, you guys, let's say you enjoyed this recap. Just like, share, and subscribe. Do all that. I appreciate every one of you for taking the time to listen to this recap. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.